Hello, I welcome you all to this wonderful lesson where we'll be talking about insoluble salts. So whenever we are talking about insoluble salts, we are talking about salts which do not dissolve in water. So an insoluble salt is a salt, that does not dissolve is a salt that does not dissolve in water. This is what you need to know and understand. Maybe you don't know the definition of a salt. A salt is a compound formed when the hydrogen ion of an acid are fully or partially replaced by a metal or ammonium. And we are talking about insoluble salts. So an insoluble salt is a salt that does not dissolve in water. So now, examples of these salts, we've got calcium sulfate. So calcium sulfate is an example. We also have barium sulfate is also an example. We can talk of lead 2 sulfate, silver chloride, lead 2 chloride, and all carbonate salts except carbonates of sodium, potassium, and ammonium. How did I know this? There is what we call solubility loss. You need to understand the solubility loss because it is those loss that gets to tell us whether a salt that we are dealing with is an insoluble salt or a soluble salt. So we need to know the solubility loss. I've done a video on that. You need to search for it. But in this lesson, I want to share with you how you can prepare an insoluble salts. So I'm going to say that the general method of preparing an insoluble salt. An insoluble salt is prepared by a method which we call precipitation by double composition. So this one is prepared by a method called precipitation by double decomposition. This is what you need to know and understand. Hope this is clear. So it's prepared by this method. And I'm going to give you an outline on how to prepare it. So general procedure of preparing insoluble salts. What are some of the procedures? So this is just the general procedure. This is just the general what? Procedure. This is just the general procedure. So say the general procedure of what? Preparing insoluble salts. Before I go any further, whenever we are talking about insoluble salts, an insoluble salt is formed when you react to soluble salts. So when you get soluble salt plus another soluble. So soluble salt plus another soluble salt, you get to form a what? An insoluble salt. You are going to form an insoluble salt plus another soluble salt. This is what you are going to form. So soluble salt plus a soluble salt, you form an insoluble salt. Plus what? Soluble salt. But in this case, our main interest is looking at what I'm calling insoluble salts. So now how can you prepare this salt, which is an insoluble salt? The method that I'm going to use here, this is a method that you need to know and understand. Make sure that you understand everything that I'm going to share with you. So the first thing that you need to do, this is just a general procedure that I'm giving you. So the first thing that you need to do, the first thing that must be done, you need to mix. So you mix two soluble salts. You mix 2 soluble salts solution. This is what you need to do? You need to mix 2 soluble salts solution. I believe we are moving together. So if you don't have these notes, I would advise you or encourage you to write down these notes. So you mix 2 soluble salts. You mix 2 soluble salts solution. After you mix them, so whenever you just mix them, so I'm going to say when this happens, so when this happens, what you need to know is that one salt will precipitate. One salt will precipitate. One salt will precipitate. And the other one, and the other salt will remain in solution form. The other salt is going to remain in what? Is going to remain in solution form. It's going to remain in solution form. This is what you need to understand. So I've just given you 2. So the salt that will precipitate, it is going to be an insoluble salt, the one that we are looking for. So to precipitate, in other words, what you are going to observe is that you are going to observe some crystals being formed. You are going to observe some crystals being formed. So to obtain the insoluble salt from the solution, filter off the excess solution which did not precipitate. So you know that you are going to get the solution, you put it on a filter paper to let it undergo a process that we are calling filtration. Then after you filter off, so I won't be able to write down these notes. I want you to follow through. So even as I'm explaining, I think you can write down these points. So after you do this, the next thing is that you get this solution, let it undergo filtration where you're going to filter off. Then the filtrates will go down. Then those things that will remain on the filter paper are the things that we are interested in. That is what we are calling an insoluble salt. So those residues that remains on the filter paper, you get them, you wash them and dry them. Then you are going to form an insoluble salt. So what I'm explaining is this. This is what I'm explaining. Let me write down here some points. So you get a solution of a soluble salt. Let's say here we've got a soluble salt. This is a soluble salt. You mixed it with another soluble salt. You mixed it with another soluble salt. So you mixed these 2 soluble salts to form a solution. You are going to form a solution like this. So soluble salt plus soluble salt, you are going to form a solution where you are going to have a solution. You are going to observe these things here. You are going to observe some things like that. You are going to observe. So these things which are formed, these ones here, these are what I'm calling precipitates. Are what? Precipitates. Then this is the what? The solution. That's the solution now. That's the solution. After you do this, then you let it undergo what? Filtration, where you get a filter paper there like that. You get a filter paper like that. Then you are going to observe that you are going to have some things there. Those precipitates will move. When they move there, then down there, you are going to get some filtrates. These filtrates are what we are calling soluble salts. These ones will be soluble salts in solution form, in liquid state. But these ones are going to be the what? Insoluble salts, the ones that we are looking for. Remember what I told you. When you react a soluble salt plus a soluble salt, you form an insoluble salt plus a soluble salt. These precipitates that gets to be formed are what we call insoluble salts. Then these filtrates that go down, that penetrate through the filter paper, are what we call insoluble salt in solution form. So let us now look at an example here. We look at an example now. We look at an example. How can you prepare barium sulfate? So let us look at a good example here, how we can prepare barium sulfate. You know that barium sulfate is an insoluble salt. So if you want to know how to tell that this is an insoluble salt or not, there is what we call solubility loss. So barium sulfate is an insoluble salt. This one is an insoluble salt. How can you prepare this? So before you look at the procedure on how to go about it, you need to get the word itself, barium sulfate. You break it into two. Why am I breaking it into two? So that I know the reagents, the two soluble salts that were reacted together to form this insoluble salt. So which soluble salt has barium in it and which soluble salt has a sulfate in it? This is what you need to do. So a soluble salt that has barium in it, we can say barium what? Nitrate. We can form barium nitrate. Barium nitrate is a soluble salt. Then which soluble salt has a sulfate in it? We can just say sodium what? Sodium sulfate. This is what you need to understand. So I've written down two important things here. These are two soluble salts that will be combined to form what? To form barium sulfate. So when you combine these two, you are going to form barium sulfate and another soluble salt, which is sodium nitrate. This is what is happening. So hope you've seen how I've gotten this. This is not to say these are the only ones. The concept is, if you want, you can say here you can get what? Barium chloride. You know that barium chloride is a soluble salt. Here, if you want a soluble salt that has got a sulfate, you can say magnesium sulfate. You can do that. There is no problem. You can react these two. You'll be able to produce the barium sulfate. So don't be limited. You can react these two. If you want, you can react these two. There is no problem. The main thing here is to come up with an insoluble salt, which we are calling barium sulfate. So we've known that we need to react these two. So now, how can we prepare this? How can we prepare this insoluble salt? The first one, you mix. So you mix. Here we won't say mix two soluble salts. We know the soluble salts that we are mixing. So we mix what? We mix barium nitrate and sodium sulfate. You mix these two. So I'm writing in points form, but in an exam, don't write in point forms. So salt solutions. Salt solutions. This is the first step. The second step that you are going to do. So you know that when this happens, so when this happens, an insoluble salt that we are preparing will precipitate. So we are going to say that barium sulfate will do what? Barium sulfate will precipitate. Barium will do what? Will precipitate. Barium sulfate is going to do what? Will precipitate. Wow. The other one, which is sodium nitrate. So the other one, which is sodium nitrate will remain in what? Solution form. So that other one will remain in solution, will remain in solution form, will remain in solution form. In what? In solution form. This is what I want you to understand. It will remain in solution form. After you do this, then filter off sodium nitrate salt solution. Filter off. You filter off sodium. You filter off sodium nitrate solution. Nitrate solution. Filter off sodium nitrate solution so that the insoluble salt, which is the barium sulfate, will remain on the filter paper. Then what do? The last step is where you correct. So the last step is where you do what? Where you correct the what? Correct the insoluble salt. Correct the insoluble salt of barium sulfate from the filter paper. From the what? From the filter paper. From the filter paper. After you correct them, the last step is where you wash them in water and dry them up. You wash them in water. So the last step, wash them in water and dry them up. This is what you are supposed to do. So this is the procedure that should be taken whenever you want to prepare an insoluble salt. If you were told now to write an equation, how can you write an equation of barium sulfate being formed as an insoluble salt? So an equation that you get to write, this is an equation where you say barium nitrate like this and a 2 plus sodium sulfate. I believe no one has a problem with chemical formulas. So what is formed is barium sulfate plus sodium nitrate. Sodium nitrate like this. There is a 2 there, so you need to put a 2 there. You know that this one is in aqueous state. This is also in aqueous state, but this one is in solid. This one is in aqueous state. So this is the chemical equation that you are supposed to write. So hope you've seen how to prepare this. Hope you've understood how to go about this. So if you could like to join my online lessons, you can WhatsApp me on this number where I get to help you at an affordable fee. It is only 100 kwacha monthly. You get to learn science with me, both chemistry and physics on a daily basis. Thank you so much. Don't forget to like the video and share. Thank you.